Today I want to talk about monitor speakers, headphones, and the pros and cons of taking DJ lessons. This is Share the Knowledge.
For the last 22 years, I've been rocking stages, playing in clubs, and having a lot of fun as a DJ and turntablist, and I've seen and learned a lot. Now it's time for me to share that knowledge by answering the questions that can help you become a better DJ. I'm djTLM, and this is Share the Knowledge.
Guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Share the Knowledge. This is episode 15. Man, I've been gone for a little over 10 days. It seems like a lifetime. I missed you guys. I missed answering questions. So if you're new to Share the Knowledge, this is the show where I answer your questions, and you can ask me questions on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. My handle is djTLM. Just add that hashtag Share the Knowledge and ask me anything. Now, I have questions lined up, and I can't wait to get started. But first of all, guys, if you like what I'm doing, if you enjoy this information, make sure you share these videos. And if you're tuned in to the podcast, that's the audio version of this show on SoundCloud and iTunes, make sure you share the episodes, because I'm receiving a lot of questions that are similar or identical to questions that I've already answered on one of the previous 14 episodes. So for instance, at least once a day, I'm getting a question, and that is a question in the line of, how can I approach clubs to do gigs? Now, if you've been watching the show, you know that I've talked about this like 2 or 3 times already. Now, granted, I will be talking about certain subjects multiple times because there's always more info to share. But with some of these questions, I'm like, check the previous episodes, and that'll help you out at least to start with. So make sure you share the video so more guys can see this info, and girls, more people can see this information and hear this information. And for now, let's get started. So I have another question from Peshiman1. I believe I had him on the show before. I'd like to know your advice. I've been practicing my skills for quite some years now, and recently I had a thought of taking classes from a well-experienced DJ. I have not started the classes yet because of financial problems, as he's asking for $700 for the whole course. Now, the course is 5 weeks with 2 lessons in a week, so that means 10 lessons. Do you think it's worth financing the money to start the class, or I can eventually get better by myself? Now, I'm not sure about the person who's giving this course, who's giving these classes, because I don't know what type of information he's going to be sharing, what he's going to be teaching you. But I'd like to say that getting your info online is great. I mean, you have access to a lot of knowledge in a lot of different places, including my channel. But it will never be the same thing as actually standing with someone and having them show you and help you out. Now, of course, there are ways you can do this over the internet as well, like Skype lessons, for instance, and that's almost the same thing because someone will be there with you, even though it's through a camera. But there's a difference between finding info online and taking lessons. So you have to decide for yourself, how far along are you? What do you master already, and what do you still need to learn? Because if you've mastered the basic technique and you know how to mix tracks, but you're lacking the experience of playing in front of people, a teacher can't really help you to play in front of people. Now, of course, he can give you some pointers, but gaining experience playing in front of people can only be done by playing in front of people. So in that case, a class might not be the best thing for you. So it all depends on what's going to be taught in that class and how much value is that going to add to the knowledge that you already have now. Because if you've been practicing for a couple of years, I think you probably mastered the basics and at least know how to beat match, mix records, do the transitions the right way and stuff like that. If not, if you followed all these online things and it's still not really working, then yes, you should definitely try and get some one-on-one lessons, or at least lessons in person that could help you out. So that's going to be different for each and every one of you, and you have to decide if it's going to add enough value and if it's really worth spending that type of money. Then we have a question from Isaiah. And the question is, when it comes to learning how to DJ and produce music, which would benefit you more to learn first so that you can gain even a better grasp of the other? Now, this is a very interesting question. I like the question, and this is going to be different for everyone. Especially nowadays, you have a lot of people who start out producing, making music, and then they transition into becoming a DJ because they start to perform their own music in front of people, and now they're getting booked as a DJ. And on the other end, you have people who just started out playing music, playing in front of people, and later on decided that they actually wanted to make music themselves. Now, I will say, if you're a DJ and you're playing in clubs, that's going to give you a pretty good insight into what works and what doesn't work when it comes to a particular genre and style. So in that case, that's going to give you an advantage when you start producing your own music because you already have a feel when it comes to knowing what works, what kind of tempo, breaks, hooks, stuff like that. So that could really help you out from that perspective. If you're into making the same type of music that you're actually playing, you might play some banging club music, but decide that when it comes to producing that you want to make something totally different. And in that case, it's not really going to help you out that much. The other way around, of course, if you started out making music, that's probably going to give you an understanding of the structure of how songs work. And that could help you out when you have to learn the basics of beat matching and mixing because you already understand the structure of music. Probably, if you spend some time to really learn how to make music and produce. So I don't think there's a right or wrong when it comes to this. Both can help the other out. So start with the thing that appeals most to you. So if you feel you have an interest in producing and DJing, there's probably one of the two that you like a little bit more. Start with that one, explore it to the fullest, learn everything you can learn, and in the meantime, you can always dabble a little bit with the other one as well. But just start with the one that's most appealing to you, and the other one will follow. Okay, so this question comes from DJ Ross Royce, and the question is, what do you think about the jukebox taking over the DJ's job at bars and clubs? Do you think the technology will kill the disc jockey? All right, we have to get one thing straight first. What are you talking about when you say jukebox? I'm old school. When I hear jukebox, I'm thinking of that device in the corner and you had to put a coin in and select a track from the jukebox. Now, I might see that happening in a bar, but that's definitely not happening in clubs. So are you just talking about a music system? Because a lot of bars do have like a computer system and they're subscribed to a certain service, music service that provides them with music, and they'll just play music, or nowadays probably just stream music instead of having a DJ. And if it's small bars, I can definitely understand, and you have to understand, it's not their choice because they prefer that software over a DJ. Most of the time, that will be a financial decision. I know plenty of owners of bars who started out doing nights where they also booked DJs, and it wasn't that successful, not successful enough. And we're living in times where your finances are even more important than maybe a couple of years ago, and they really have to watch what they spend. And in their case, they made the conscious decision that they're not going to book DJs anymore because it's just not making the money that they were expecting it to make. And it's in their best interest for now to have music being played from a computer because the DJ was not adding the value that they needed. So in that case, it's not a question of technology taking over from the DJ, it's just a financial issue. Now, do I see clubs switching from DJs to just technology, just to a computer playing the music? No, definitely not. Definitely not. It's not happening, at least not anytime soon, because you can definitely see that there are a lot of DJs that are popular and that attract crowds. And those crowds go to certain parties because they know a lot of people are going to be there because they see all these names of DJs. I don't think it's going to be the same thing with a computer. And I have to add, you can put on a computer that plays music in a club, but that computer right now does not have the ability to read the crowd, make that perfect song selection and stuff like that. So no, I'm definitely not worried about that. If you're worried about that as a DJ, then you're not confident enough about your own skills and about what people want what people like, because I don't see computers offering that yet. Same when it came to Serato Pyro, their new music player that can also mix music, and some people were like, oh, that's going to take over DJs. That's not going to happen. It's not that accurate, and it can't do the same things that a DJ can. It can play music, but a DJ is more than just someone who plays music. You need more skills than just playing music in order to be a good DJ. So no, I'm not worried about that at all. And I love technology. It offers us a lot of things that we didn't have before. It's made my life easier. I don't have to carry around all my crates of records just to start. I can still use turntables, but I don't have to carry like 4 crates of records. So to me, that's a big plus. The extra features that you get in the software that allow you to do some cool stuff as well. Serato Video, I love the fact that I can DJ with video, music videos and stuff like that. I love it. So I'm a fan of technology, and we'll see where it goes, man. There's a lot of things happening. If you see what happened in the last 10 years alone, it's crazy. So who knows where we'll be in 10 years time. But no, I don't see a computer taking over the DJ's job anytime soon. We have a question from DJ Integrity. The question is, should you always use a monitor speaker when you spin? I'm a mobile DJ, and even though I do a lot of sound checks, I'm never sure how well the sound is once the event gets packed. I don't do clubs, but some of the events that I don't have to use my sound and I can hook into theirs offers to give me a monitor, but I say no because I would hope they know how to help make me sound as good as they feel I should. When is it essential to have monitors? All right, now if we're talking about monitor speakers that are in the DJ booth, those speakers are not there to let you hear how the sound is in the room, because that's never going to be the same. The monitor speakers are there for you to be able to hear the sound, to hear it as it's being played in the club, because a lot of times the DJ booth might be in a position that if you were to go off the sound on the actual dance floor, there's going to be a delay. And when that happens and you're listening to the sound that's coming into your ear all the way from the dance floor, and you're mixing with one ear on the headphones, you're going to be in trouble because that delay is going to mess you up. Those monitor speakers are there to give you good sound, to hear what's being played throughout the whole club, the venue, wherever you're at. So that's not an actual reference to let you hear how it is on the dance floor. Of course, you're going to hear how your sound is. You're going to hear if your bass is in there or not. But it all depends on the EQ, how it is in the room. So there's probably a PA system, or at least the engineer or whoever works at that club makes a certain setting for the sound on the dance floor. So your monitor is there for you, to help you during your mix. If you want to make sure how it sounds there, you have to really walk over there to hear how that sounds. So there's a big difference when it comes to that. Yes, I always want monitor speakers because, like I said, in certain cases, it's going to be really tricky if you have to go off the sound coming from the dance floor. In a small club, if the speakers for the dance floor are right next to you, it could work. But I'd rather have those speakers there so I can control how much volume there's actually around my ears. Because if I'm not doing a transition, I can turn my monitor speakers off and I don't have the same loud sound as the people on the dance floor. So I can actually save my ears. So that's the purpose of that monitor speaker. All right, let's stick to monitoring for a minute. And the next question is from Craig. And the question is, I've recently heard a few big DJs mentioning they use in-ear headphones to protect their hearing. How do these work when mixing? What are you listening to? And what are your opinions on using in-ears? Yes, I know all about these, and I have some in-ear headphones right here. They go into my ear. I'll post a picture or a link in the description. Some Pioneers right here. And I've used them a couple of times, and they definitely work. What they do, you put them in your ears, they block all the sound around you, and you don't have to turn the volume up that loud to get good, clear sound, good monitoring going on. So I understand for some DJs, it's a great option. They want to protect their hearing. And I've seen DJs really destroy their hearing with like playing monitor speakers way too loud. I'm standing behind the DJ and they're playing and my ears are hurting because of the volume coming out of their monitor speakers. or their headphones as well, it's ridiculous. If my ears are hurting and you're playing in that level comfortably, then your hearing is already definitely going downhill. But these in-ears can help. But it all depends on how you like to play, because I'm taking my headphones off my head, on my head all the time. So for me, it didn't really work that well. I like to use them sometimes just to listen to music because it does block everything around me. But personally, I don't like them for DJing, but they do definitely get the job done. So you would have to try that out. So I'm not the biggest fan, but I understand why some DJs do it. So this is great. I knew I had this question and I found it, and this just goes with the last two questions. So this is all about monitoring and headphones right now. This is a question that I found on Instagram, and the question is, I'm currently mixing with my headphones since I have a little one and I don't want to make a lot of noise. Is this wrong? I'm afraid of getting used to mixing this way. So in this case, what I believe he's talking about when he says mixing on my headphones is just using the headphones, having them on, and listening to your master output. So you're hearing both tracks that way and mixing the tracks that way, because you don't want to make noise. So you're not going to use headphones and a speaker because that's going to make too much noise. So there's no monitoring going on. So everything's happening inside the headphones. Is that wrong? No, it's definitely not wrong. And I know DJs who always mix that way. For me personally, it's not the way I like to play. In my case, I'll have one side on my ear. So that could be this side. And one side will be open to hear the monitor speaker. Now on the monitor speaker, you're hearing the track that's being played. And over here, I have the track that I'm cueing. And even when I started to make my transition, I still have this as a reference to the track that's being mixed in. And I have the total sound coming out of the monitor speaker at that time. Or some DJs will have it here and have one like that, whatever your favorite position for the headphones is, that works for me. I prefer to do that. But I've had different gigs where I did not have an option and I had to go with full headphones. And one of those situations is when there's no monitor in the DJ booth. Like I said earlier, I always want a monitor speaker because it accurately lets me hear what's going on in the room. But I've had certain gigs where there was no monitor speaker. So you walk in and you can already tell, like, okay, the sound from the dance floor, there's a latency going on, there's a delay. If I have to mix off that, it's not gonna work. So I'll just skip all of that, take the headphones. First, I'll try to cue it up by listening to what's coming from the room. When I'm beat matching, I can do that by listening to the room, even if it's a delay, and I can make sure that the track that's coming in will be at the same tempo. But when it's time to make that actual transition, I'm just putting that headphone on master so I can hear what I'm putting out. Both ears covered and mix on the headphone. Now, the reason why I prefer to do it with one ear, for me, it was easier to differentiate if I was playing two tracks. And if they're not totally in sync yet, you're gonna hear that the snares are not gonna be aligned. For me, it was easier to hear if the snare on that track was playing too fast or too slow by just hearing that track on my headphones and the other track there. But if you have everything coming through your headphones and in both ears, it could be a little bit harder to hear which track is playing too fast and too slow. But if you're learning how to do it that way and you can differentiate those tracks, perfect. There's no problem with that at all. So if you learn to do it that way, you might continue to do it that way if you're playing in a club. And if that works for you, that's all that matters. So continue to do it that way, or maybe once you get to the club, you'll find out that you like to do it the other way as well. It's all good. So you know what? I'm going to make that the question of the day. What type of headphones are you currently using? That's all for now. This was episode 15 of Share the Knowledge, and I'll be back very soon. If you want to ask me a question for a future episode, just go to Twitter, Instagram, or Snapchat. My handle is djTLM. Add the hashtag Share the Knowledge and ask me anything. If you're checking out the video on YouTube, or if you're listening to the podcast on SoundCloud and iTunes, make sure you like it, and more importantly, make sure you share it so more people find out about Share the Knowledge and djTLMtv. All right, guys, I'll see you very, very soon. Peace.